I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. It looks like, Stephanie, you have to let me share it though. It's saying that you disabled screen sharing.
Sorry, hang on just a second.
No problem.
Okay, you should be good.
There we go. All right, so today I'm going to go over the expense center and accounts payable. So again, this is the desktop where you get to when you log into your QuickBooks. And so on the left-hand side, we're going to go to expenses. Sometimes it has a different name if you customize it, but it is right below whatever you have for like invoicing, transaction sales, or right above, sorry. Sales. Anyway, so we'll go to expense center. So there's two different tabs under the expense center. The first one is expenses, and this lists every single expense that you have had in QuickBooks. So any bills, checks, purchase orders, expenses. Let's see what else we have down here. That's pretty much it. So it sorts them automatically by date, but like any of the other stuff in QuickBooks, you can sort it by anything you want. So if you want to sort it by payee or category, you can sort anything you want there. The place that most people use is the vendor center itself though. So this is where you see all of your vendors. So you can see all of their names here. Again, you can sort by balance if you want to, by name. And just like in the sales center that we talked about up here, you can see different things that you can sort it by. So if you want to just look at all the open bills you have, you can click on that. It will show you the bills. Purchase orders, you can click on that, or you can clear the filter and view everything. So this is kind of the basic vendor center. So I'm going to go over, and I can't remember if I did this in a previous one, but I'm just going to go over how to enter general expenses, and then we'll go into how to enter vendors and bills and purchase orders. So up here on the new, this is kind of where you enter everything. Under vendors, you would just click expense. So this would be anything that you're spending if you're doing like with your debit card, a wire transfer, cash transaction, anything like that you would do from here. So you just want to enter the payee, so who it's to. You can either start typing or click the little arrow and scroll down to who it's to. Let's say we went to Chevron. It will automatically pre-fill the information from your previous expense. If you don't want it to do this, I'll show you how to go and update it in your account settings here in just a second. But I'm going to say yes, I want it to pre-fill it because I always have the same thing for Chevron. So you do the payee, make sure it's coming out of the correct account. You can use your checking account, savings account, credit cards, or if you have like a cash on hand, you can do any of those. Click the payment date, payment method. This is if you want to say that it was cash or credit card. Reference number, again, just if you want to. And then I'm going to go down here and put the category in that I want to. Because it pulled up the information from my previous expense, it already popped up a description and a memo. You can delete those and do any description you want to, or if it's a description that came from the bank, you can leave that too. Change the amount here. And then you can save it, you can save and close it, or you can save and do a new one. The other thing you can do here, just like you could with deposits and invoices, is you can put attachments here. So if you have an invoice or a receipt or something, you can just drag and drop it right there and it stays with that expense. So I'm just going to save and close from there. And then if you want to do a check, you kind of go to the same place, but you just go down to check. You would enter in all of the same information, payee, it's Costco, the date, and then you can choose to print it later, and I'll go over that a little bit more when we get to adding bills. Or if you uncheck that box, then you can enter the check number that you wrote. A lot of people have their own checks. They don't print them through QuickBooks. So you would just write the check that you wrote out. If you do print through QuickBooks, again, I'll show you in a little while how to print. And then you would just click or enter, the category, the amount, just like the expense, but this is just a check instead of just a general expense. Again, you can add attachments if you want to. You can add a description, and then we can save and close from there. The other thing you can do with expenses, before we get into adding vendors, is you can make them reoccurring. So let's say if we go down to like my my cell phone bill, it's like the same amount every month. So you can create an expense, just fill it out like you normally would. And then down here at the bottom, you click this make reoccurring. So you just fill in who it's to, if you want it to be scheduled or just send you a reminder, how many days in advance you want it made. I'm going to say 10 days, who it's to, account it's coming out of, how often it happens, what day of the month, and then when you're going to start it. So I'm going to say that it's like the 15th of the month. So we're going to start February 15th. And then you can do an end date. So if it's a bill that you're just paying, for 6 months or something, you can choose an end date, or you can just have it keep going forever. And then again, this bottom part looks like just like it did entering the expense. And then you can just save your template there. If you want to change these, you just go up to the gear and go to reoccurring transactions. You can see my Verizon here, and you click edit. And then you can just go through and make any changes that you want to from there. Or if you're done with that reoccurring transaction, you just click the arrow and you can click delete.
We have a question, Sarah.
Yes.
In the expense tab, how do you actually attach a receipt?
So when you are creating an expense, down here at the bottom, it says attachments. You can either drag and drop it here, or if you just click it, there you go, then it will pull up your files and you can find the file on your computer and upload it to here. If you like already created an expense and you found your receipt and you want to do it after you created your expense, you can just find the expense. Let's see, excuse me. It was from Charter. You just go find the expense. We'll say it was this one. And again, you just go in and attach your file there. Okay, so we'll go back to the vendors. So I'm going to go over how you can add vendors, how you can create bills, purchase orders, more than just your general expenses. So from here, to add a vendor, you just click new vendor. So you can either type, if it's a person, you can do the first name, last name. If it's a company, you can do the company here. I can't think of company names. Main Street Construction. We'll just go with that. And then you can choose how that name is displayed. You can have it display whatever you typed in, or you can make the display name different than the actual legal name. Sometimes a legal name is not the name that you know them by, so you can have a different display name than their company name. You can fill in their address, add any notes that you want to. These notes only show up to you. They don't show up anywhere like on the checks you write or anything like that. So you can write whatever notes you want. Email address, phone number, all that kind of stuff. If you have a rate, so if this is like a construction, or maybe it's like a bookkeeping company, a legal, something like that, where you have an hourly rate, you can fill that in here. If you know what your terms are with them, they're always like net 30. You can enter that here. Really the only thing you have to enter in this part is the display name. The rest of it is up to you. If you're switching over from another system and you need to have like an opening balance with them, you can do that. And then if you have an account number with them, you can put that on here, and this does show up on the check. So it shows up on the memo on the bottom. So if you are printing your checks through QuickBooks and you want to have your account number on here, you want to add that here. And then the last thing here is your 1099s. So if you are adding people in, as you add them, it makes your life a lot easier this time of year when you're doing 1099s to enter this information in. So just quick 1099 overview, you have to send 1099s to anyone that provides a service for you. So might be bookkeeper, a lawyer, someone who's doing construction for you. It also includes your landlords, so people that you're paying rent to. Trying to think of other common ones. Mostly it has to do with like legal, accounting, and people who do like repairs for you. So if it is someone who may need a 1099, what I do is I fill out the W-9, which is the form that you have to get from them, and I attach it and drag it and drop it here. And then I enter their EIN number right here, or their social security number, whatever they enter on that form. Then this time of year, when you're doing 1099s, QuickBooks can really easily get them all ready for you. They will even file them for you, and it can be quick and easy. So I always say, when you're entering vendors, get this information before you even pay them, and it just makes your life easier at the end of the year. So once you enter all the information that you want to, you just click save. Apparently I already entered that name, so I'm just going to cancel, but then it would show up down here. Apparently I already entered that one. So then we can see that we have their company. I'm going to go in and put a note in here just so you can see like maybe you get a discount if you pay early. So you can see up here, it shows this note here. So when you look at it, you can see, oh, I need to pay that one because I get a discount. It won't show up on any of the things that this company gets from you. It will just be a reminder for you. So once you enter a vendor, we can create a bill. So to make a new bill, again, you just go to new. It's kind of how you create everything, and you click on bill. It looks very similar to the expense, to the check. They all kind of have the same general form here. So let's say that we got a bill from Charter. If you print your checks from QuickBooks, you want to make sure that you have a mailing address here. Makes it easier to mail. Bill date, we're going to say it was today. Due date, we'll say it's due on the 10th of February. Bill number if you have that. If not, you don't have to enter it. Enter a category. Description if you want it, the amount, and then just like expenses, just like checks, you can just save and close it. The other thing you can do with bills, we're going to enter another bill. If you notice, when I'm entering these expenses and checks, I'm using just these categories here. If you track inventory through QuickBooks and you make a bill, you can enter the individual products that you're getting. So let's say, I'm going to do, I think I have a dairy, do that one. I can go down here and I can enter, let's say like ice cream. I'm getting 10. When you go over here, it'll tell you how many you have on hand right now. So I'm going to say that I'm getting 10 of those. I only have a couple products here, so we'll just add both of those. And then you can add items and categories. So let's say that we have those items, but we also have shipping. We can add shipping, say that was $50. So you can have a mixture of both things that are just in a general category and also actual item details. And then when you're done, you just click save and close. So now if we go to our vendor, we can see that we have a few bills from there. So when you look at the vendor, it'll tell you at the top how many bills you have that are open and how many of them are overdue. So now say we need to pay our bill, we go up to the new and go into pay bills. So this will show you all of your bills that you have due. These little red things show you ones that are past due. So it doesn't tell you the date that it was entered, it just tells you the due date, which is more important when you're paying bills anyways. So when you start at the top, you just click what account these are coming from, the date that you're making the payment. If you are manually writing the checks, you can enter the check number that you are starting with. If QuickBooks is printing them for you, you can click print later. So I'm going to do that so I can show you how to print with QuickBooks. So then you can do this one of two ways. You can do each individual item. So let's say this one, I'm going to pay that one, and I'm going to click save, and then it comes off your list. If you're paying like all of them at once, you can just click all the ones that you're going to pay and then click save. The other thing you can do is if you're not making a full payment, you can check the box, and let's say for this one, I'm only paying $100 right now. So you can change the amount that you're paying and click save. So now it just shows you how much is left. You still have $250 to pay on that one. So you can just go through and do all those ones. If you're paying from different accounts, you can change this then. We're going to pay some out of the credit card, pick the ones you're going to pay from the credit card, and go from there. So once you have said that you're paying these bills, now that we need to go and print the checks, you just click on new, and down at the bottom, you click print checks. So it shows you all of the payments that you said that you're paying through checks. So you choose the starting check number that you have on your check stock. And if you don't want to print them all right now, you just unclick the ones you're not paying, or if you want to pay them all, check all the boxes and then click preview and print. And then it will pull up a PDF. So then you can just print it from here. And then when you click close, it'll double check that all these printed correctly. So if they all printed correctly, you can say, yes, everything's fine. If they didn't all click correctly, you can click on that and say which ones didn't. Or if like none of them, if you forgot to put check stock in and they all printed on regular paper or whatever, you can click no, and then we'll go back and they will still be in the list. So if we click some checks need reprinting, starting with check number, let's say it was 5007, then it will just show those ones back up in here. And so you can reprint them. So if we go through and we have to change, because let's say we messed up a few of them, so now we have to change our starting number, preview and print. And then yes, they all printed correctly. And now they're all gone from your list. So they will show up on here, even if you didn't do a bill payment, if you just entered a check from here and said to print later, that will show up on your print checklist also. So that's how you kind of do a basic enter bill and pay it. So we're going to go over purchase orders. So we're just going to stick with the same vendor here and enter a purchase order. So same thing, you just go to new, you're going to go to purchase order. So again, very similar fields to all the expenses, checks and everything. Email address if you need it, ship to if you have a different address, like if you're having it shipped to a customer or something, you can use that. Purchase order date, and then you just go down and enter the information. I'm going to order some more ice cream. And then just save and close it. If you enter an email address into there, you can, instead of save and close, you can click save and send, and it will email this purchase order to them. So we have a purchase order. Now let's say that we got our product and we want to receive it. You can just go back to that purchase order and click copy to bill. So we received it and now we can pay it. So there's a couple things you can do from here. If you received everything was correct, same price, everything, all you have to do is click save and close and you're done. If you only received like part of the purchase order, so let's say that we only received 2 of these items and 3 of those items, you just enter how much you received and then click save and close. And if we go back to that purchase order, we can see now that you received 2 and you received 3, but it's not closed yet because you haven't received everything. So I can go back when I receive the rest of it, I can go back, copy to a bill. It will automatically pull up how much was left. If I receive that, I just save and close, and I'll go back to the purchase order. And now you can see there's a little checkbox that said it was closed. So this purchase order has been totally received. If you have a purchase order, let's make another one real quick. Oops, I'm in the wrong spot, sorry. All right, so let's say we made this purchase order and they ended up only having like 3 of them. We'll copy it to a bill. We'll receive 3 of them. So now if we go back to this purchase order, it's showing we received 3. Now let's say that it turns out they don't have any more. They can't give us any more. 3 is all that we can have. On this purchase order, all you do is just change the original quantity to 3, click save, and now it will show as closed. And then with the bills, you just pay your bill like I showed you other bills. That's kind of purchase orders. A couple other things really quick. Sometimes people have expenses that are billable to their customers. So I'll show you how to do that real quick. So you can do it on a bill, on an expense, on a check, on anything. So a lot of people will pull up their expense and there should be a little spot that says like billable to customer, and it's not here. So it's a setting that you have to go in and adjust. So if you go up to the gear and account and settings, and then if you go down to expenses, we can see that make expenses an item billable is turned off. So you click the little pencil, turn it on. You can track billable expenses in separate income accounts. Most people just do it into a single account. You can have a default markup. So if you always mark everything up, 50% or whatever, you can do that. If you have sales tax, you can put that here. So I'm going to I'm going to turn on and click save, and it also then turns on track expenses and items by customer because they kind of go hand in hand. So now when I go back to an expense, now I see over here that I have this customer option here. So let's say that I am buying some ice cream that I'm just selling to another customer. I'm going to say it's ice cream. I'm buying 2 of them. And then here you click what customer it is. Let's say I'm selling to Main Street Market. And you just click this little box that is billable and save and close it. So now I have an expense that I need to bill to the Main Street Market. So if I go to new and create an invoice for them, and I pull up Main Street Market, we now see over here that I have billable expenses. So I can just click add, and I don't have any default markup here. So it's just selling it for what I bought it for. So you can change the rate right here. So let's say that I'm going to go ahead and turn around and sell it for $50. And then you just save it from there. So that's how you do billable things. If you notice when I pulled up an expense for them, this popped up. So when you pull up an expense or a check for a vendor that you have open bills for, it will show you all the bills over here that you owe. And you can just click add and it will add it to this expense. So if I'm from my checking account, if I'm paying like maybe with my debit card, I'm going to pay bills, I can just do it straight from here. So you would just check all the bills that you're paying. say I'm paying all of them, and save and close it. So you can do it that way too. Instead of going to bill payment, you can just add it as an expense or check. It does the same thing. It's just kind of your preference how you want to go in and add it. And then sometimes you might get a vendor credit. So let's say that I got some ice cream from the dairy farm and it turned out to be bad. And so now I get a credit back. We just click new and go down to vendor credit and who the vendor was. And let's say down here it was some ice cream. It turned out to be bad, so I want to take it out of my inventory. So I'm going to add it as an item. Say it was 2 batches. And just click save and close. Again, they all kind of expenses, checks, bills, credits, they all kind of have the same layout. And now I can see that I have a $50 credit. So then when I go and create a new bill for them, it will automatically, depending on the settings you have set up, it will automatically apply that credit to that bill. I go back to that bill. Oh, these settings aren't set up that way. But you can click mark as paid. And then all you do is click on the bill and how much of that the credit is going towards. So I'm going to say $50 of it is a credit. And then down below, you check on the credit and that's $50. And you can see the total amount is 0. So it's basically paying this bill with your credit. And then you can save and close. And if I go back to that bill, now it shows that I made a payment of 50 and the balance left is 75. So I kind of went through everything quickly. That's pretty much the vendor center. So if people have specific questions or want me to go a little slower over anything, I can do that.
And if it's easier, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask questions as well.
Sarah, in the purchase orders, I saw at the bottom there was some notes to vendors and memos. Can you tell us a little about what people use that for?
Yeah. So if you email this to your vendor, then you can add notes down here. So if like, say for ice cream, new flavor, let's say I want to say like 1 of each of your new flavors or all 3 of the same flavor or whatever. If you click on this, then, or if you add it in your message to the vendor, then it will show up on the purchase order that you email, or if you print it and send it, it will show up on there. The memo down here is just an internal memo. So it just shows up for me on the purchase order, but your vendor won't see it. And then again, there's the attachments. You can always add attachments to pretty much anything in QuickBooks. So if you have anything, if you need to have some kind of signature or picture or anything, you can just add it to the attachments. This same thing, if we look at the bill, there's a memo down here, internal, because bills are just an internal thing. Your vendor doesn't see your bill. There's not a message to them, but there is the memo for internal, and then you can add attachments to it also. And you can, I've had this question with, so on QuickBooks Desktop, you can change how your bill looks or your purchase order looks when you're sending it to vendors. On QuickBooks Online, you cannot, unfortunately. So it is, I've heard a lot of people complain about that. So hopefully QuickBooks is doing something about it, but as of right now, it's a pretty basic form.
So Sarah, is there any way that you can, and you may have gone over this, when you're like the difference between the purchase order and a bill, the bill is strictly yours. It's for your records, correct?
Yeah.
So can you just like import your bill into, or your purchase order into your bill?
Yeah. So from your purchase order, I have to do a new one because that one's already done. So once you create a purchase order, all you do is just click this copy to bill,
Okay.
and it turns it into a bill. A lot of people don't use purchase orders. Really, the purchase order is just to help you, like if you're ordering stuff from a vendor. So if you're like, we're ordering ice cream from them, and then once they send it, then I have a bill that I have to pay. A lot of people don't use purchase orders, though. You know, you're not going to make a purchase order for like your phone bill or, you know, going to like Fred Meyer to buy supplies or the office store or whatever. So
Right.
a lot of places don't use purchase orders, they just enter bills. But it is nice with QuickBooks Online that you can email the purchase orders. You can also print them and mail them if you want. But the people that I know that use the purchase orders email them, and it just makes it quicker, like to get your order in with them.
Well, and it's a good way to kind of keep it itemized, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And help with your inventory. So if you have, let's see, make a purchase order.
Yeah, because it tells you how many you have, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it will tell you on here how many, and so it says like quantity on hand, but also quantity on purchase order. So you can see, you know, I have 15 on hand. I also have another purchase order for 5 more. So maybe I don't need to buy any more, or you can get an idea of how many you have ordered that maybe you haven't paid for yet, but should be coming.
Perfect.
So Sarah, when you receive your items that you have purchased, is there a place, and what if you do not, what if you receive the, I mean, on the desktop version, you can either receive the bill with the purchase, with the inventory, or not receive the bill and receive the bill later. Is there a way to do that here too?
So when you, let's repaid. When you have a purchase order, all right, so we have this open purchase order here. So once you receive the items, you can copy it to a bill. There isn't a way to like receive them like the QuickBooks Desktop. You can receive the items first and then create the bill. With QuickBooks Online, it's assuming that when you receive the items, you got a bill also. So when you receive the items, you copy to a bill. If you haven't really like received the bill yet, you can always push that bill date out to be, you know, you're expecting to receive it in February. But on QuickBooks Online, you do have to create a bill to receive the items.
Okay.
So you can push the date out so it doesn't look like this bill is due yet. So let's say that we receive the items, we create the bill, we can save and close it. And then when you actually receive the bill, if there was additions to it, you can click on the bill and add, like maybe you had a shipping fee that you need to add in there. You can go ahead and add whatever you need to, change the date to whatever the actual date that you received the bill was, and go from there. But you do have to create a bill in order to receive the items.
Then does it allow you to, on a purchase order, to sell inventory you do not have yet?
It does. When you're going to like invoice to a client, we'll just do that. And let's say we're doing ice cream. We can see when we click on here, it says we have 25 on hand and 5 more coming. you can put 35 on here and save it. It doesn't really care. It'll tell you that you have -10 now, but you can sell as many as you want. So you can sell even if QuickBooks says that you're out of the item.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone have any more questions?
Yes, I have one more. What does the batch actions do? What does that do?
So you can like click on a few things and oh, well, let me do it on here because I don't know why. Usually it will let you print them. Let's see if it'll do it for the purchase orders. Yeah, so you can print, like if you want to print all of the purchase orders, you can print from here and it'll print out the purchase orders. You can also categorize. I honestly haven't really used the categorize. So I'm not familiar with the categorize, but the printing, I thought you could do it with bills, but for some reason it is not letting me. But you can do it for purchase orders. If you want to print all the purchase orders, you can do batch action and print transactions.
Okay, I think I might have missed, where do you enter all your inventory? If you're keeping track of your inventory or your inventory.
Yes, so you enter your inventory when you receive it. So you would enter it in a bill or a purchase order when you receive it from a vendor. That's how it gets entered.
Right.
If you need to enter like initial inventory, it's under the sales. So if you go under sales and then products and services, you can go here and edit the item and you can enter your starting inventory value. But once you have your starting value on hand, then anytime you receive inventory, you should be entering it in as a bill because you should be paying for that inventory as it comes in. Does that make sense?
So your items and services is found under sales.
Yeah, so it's under sales and then products and services.
Okay.
It shows all your inventory. Mm-hmm.
Well, and as you add that through bills, it automatically updates the inventory. So you just have to put your starting inventory in and then kind of keep it going, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you, if you're doing like year-end inventory and you find that there was some differences, you can go in here and you can adjust quantity and you can adjust as needed here. I think a lot of people are doing that right now since it's inventory time. But for the most part, once you have your initial inventory in, the adjustments are made when you receive bills and receive inventory in, and then when you invoice customers and sell those items. So ultimately, you never have to make adjustments, but of course people do. So you can do it straight from here. And you can see here, if you want to know how many you have of something on hand, right here, it shows you how many are on hand.
Is there a note place that comes up that you can program in to show you what you need to order at one time? All your inventory that you need to order.
Yeah, so if you set, when you create items, if you set, you can see here, there's this reorder point.
Right.
If you set that, so we will say for them, it's 2. Then you can print a report that shows you all of the items that are either at your reorder point or below.
Okay.
And so
so when you go into QuickBooks to begin with, like on desktop, you have a note that will pop up that says you need to reorder, or you need to pay bills, or you need to send bills or receive customers or whatever, cash to deposit or whatever. Yeah. You don't have that in this on this particular version.
No, the QuickBooks Online doesn't have as many of the like reminders that QuickBooks Desktop does. So yeah, when you go to desktop, like you said, it will tell you kind of all the things that you need to do. The QuickBooks Online doesn't really do that. It will do that for like reoccurring transactions. It will remind you you need to create that. You have to manually like run the report to see what you need to order. And so you kind of have to do a little more manual work in QuickBooks Online. It doesn't quite remind you of as much stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Sarah, I think you talked about like rules before, entering rules. Is there something you can do with that to maybe remind yourself to do inventory, or is that not the same thing? I just remember you talked about you could enter some things and set yourself up. I don't know if that applies to here.
The rules are just for the banking center. So the rules are just how transactions get entered from your bank account. So you can have it like when we're creating the reoccurring bill, you can have it so it just sends you a reminder. So if I go into the recurring transactions for this Verizon one, instead of scheduled, you can have it just remind you. So it will remind you of reoccurring expenses or invoices. It won't really remind you of anything else.
Gotcha.
It does, when you go to the dashboard, you can kind of set this up a little bit to show you some, like, it can show you if you have bills that are past due, but it won't give you specifics. It's just kind of a general.
Got it.
Is the dashboard where you would set your preferences for the company?
You can set those things up here at the gear icon, and then under account and settings, this is where you kind of customize everything. So you can customize all your sales forms, customize expenses, like purchase orders and stuff. Again, QuickBooks Online does not offer as much customization as QuickBooks Desktop. QuickBooks Online is really meant to be for small businesses that really just want to kind of track the basics, do some basic invoicing, but not too detailed. So you can do a lot more customization on the QuickBooks Desktop.
Does anybody else have any more questions? Well, if not, I think that we can probably give you a few minutes of your day back. And I hope you have a wonderful week. And we can, we will see you back here another Wednesday, I believe it is. Is that the 20th?
Mm-hmm.
And then we will be done with this series. So hopefully to follow this, again, I'd like to invite you all to join our Moneymaker Accelerator, where we will be going into all aspects of financial literacy. So that should be very good. I will keep you up to date. And if any of you need my contact information, I posted it in the chat. I will do it again. And I will see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank
You
you.
bet. Thank you, Dawson.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.